We got a lot of great comments about our last week's episode about what's going on with the wildfires. And a lot of people were telling me, we want you guys to talk about this more because they see a lot of people without masks. Um, a lot of people in areas that aren't technically burn sites, they say the air looks clear. Well, the thing is what's actually in the air, you can't see it or smell it. In this past week, my friend who's not in a burn site area is coughing up a lung. She normally uses an asthma inhaler. She needs 5 this past week. She's sick as a dog, very active, and she's not in a burn area. She's actually in my area. I have another friend who's not in a burn area in my area. Just happened to get a nosebleed. Literally just out of nowhere. First time in 15 years. It could be from anything, but it just happened to be the first time in 15 years he got a nosebleed. My point is it's been 10 days. It's been barely 2 weeks. I hate to be the bad guy. I really do. I'm not a complete, clean Puritan. I eat sugar. I eat red meat. I occasionally use plastic. But my point is if something's going to kill me, I'm the type of guy who wants to know about it.
It does look bad. It's difficult. I have sympathy for people because, I mean, most people have to stay in it and can't get out of it.
We're saying wear a mask.
I don't know a lot of people who are wearing masks, but again, I'm not there, so I'm not seeing it. You know what I mean?
I just wanted to get through this little PSA quick because we didn't even talk about 9/11 yet. In 2016, so literally the 15-year anniversary, Christine Todd Whitman, former governor of the proud state of New Jersey, she was the head of the EPA during 9/11, Environmental Protection Agency. She told the public the air around Ground Zero in New York was safe to breathe. After 15 years, she admitted for the first time she was wrong. We will put this article in the description. I'm just seeing wind of all this stuff now where I'm just like, hey guys, are you guys seeing the same thing I'm seeing? It took them 15 years to admit that Ground Zero was dangerous for first responders and people living in Lower Manhattan. 630,000 registered members had developed conditions after exposure. Chronic illnesses, asthma, pulmonary disease, gastroesophageal reflux disease, cancers, non-melanoma skin cancer was number 1. Prostate cancer, breast cancer, lymphoma, lung cancer. If you guys watch this on video, I'm going to put the graphic of all this horrible stuff. Don't worry, we'll get through it quick. Respiratory diseases and cancer have caused the most deaths among first responders in the past 20 years. So that's what the symptoms actually look like. This is 9/11, okay? Now, argument's sake, someone could easily say, I've had this conversation with friends. Some people actually said, well, I don't think these wildfires would be as bad as 9/11. And I'm like, I kind of assumed that these wildfires would be worse than 9/11, considering the acreage of the Palisades fire and Eaton fire are way bigger than Manhattan altogether. You have all those houses as opposed to the World Trade Center and you have many, many, many floors. I mean, I didn't do the math on it, but I'm just saying I wouldn't have assumed that 9/11 is worse. So let's look at this one. There's a study between 2008 and 2018 about the chronic exposure to wildfire smoke. This was done specifically on the California wildfires in those 10 years. Also, in the 2018 big wildfire that happened, 55,000 people died prematurely. In 2018, a 76% jump in childhood asthma exacerbations. So there's definitely a correlation there as far as wildfire smoke, chronic exposure. These symptoms happened. They checked in a lot of times for a lot of these symptoms. A lot of times after a year, it didn't get better after a year. It actually got worse. So that's what we're looking at.
I think Jon Stewart did a lot of advocacy
9/11,
for
right?
first responders after 9/11, yeah. But I didn't, it's funny you should say that because I've started seeing ads pop up on Instagram for compensation for anybody who was in or around Ground Zero between, 2000, 9/11, 2001 and, a certain time frame. I would agree with you on the fact that, like, because it wasn't just a wildfire, it was an urban fire in the Palisades and in and in Altadena, there's so much stuff burned up in there that we have no idea about. So yeah, I'd be concerned going back into that environment.
Anyway, that's my bad news. I just had to get that out after last week.
It's good new segment for the podcast. Econ's bad news at the top of every episode.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like that clip, click here to see the full episode of The Actor's Guide to the End of the World. It's right there.